what? It's just like your MO.
My MO.
Dinner dates with boys who met in saunas.
Nah, not usually.
Okay. So what makes me so special?
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Oh, shit. Shame. I know, I'm just trying to work out what the vibe is here.
What do you mean?
I'm not imagining double dates with your friends anytime soon.
You're funny.
You keep this side of your life completely separate.
I'm a private person. I don't like people getting in my business.
One of the quieter conversations between Nathan Stewart Jarrett, playing Jules in that scene, and George MacKay playing Preston. Delighted to say George has joined us. George, are we saying femme here or femme?
Femme. Femme's the one.
And explain why it's that pronunciation rather than the French femme.
With the French femme, I guess because it's a British indie, and I think femme is the term. It's the sort of a term within the queer community for someone who's sort of in touch with the more feminine side of their character and harnessing that.
So explain how you got involved in this film.
Yeah, it was lucky enough to be Sam and Ping reached out and wanted to have a conversation about playing Preston, and so I kind of first sat down and spoke with them and was just like so taken with their sort of vision and ambition for it, and the nuance that they kind of saw what they wanted to do with it with. They spoke about kind of being a real fan of the genre, the kind of the noir thriller, but as queer filmmakers not really seeing themselves within that, so wanting to kind of subvert that to kind of get going.
And just to clear something, when you're talking about what sounded like Sam and Ping, you're talking. So these are the directors. Just explain it.
Sam H. Freeman and Unchung Ping are the writers and directors who are dear friends and collaborators, and who wrote this together and directed it together as a duo.
One of the things about your character is that when we first meet him, he's tattooed, very, very violent. There's a violent interaction between the two central characters. I have known you for many a year, and you are a lovely and gentle person, and yet you are actually very scary in those early scenes. How hard was it to do that, George?
It was to be honest, that was almost one of my biggest concerns. Kind of, I know that's not something that, I guess, if you know me personally, that kind of is the first thing that you'd think of.
You're not a bit tasty with your fists in real life, are you?
I'd like to think so, but I really am not. I have no experience. I think in the mirror, I'm pretty hard, but no, it was important that, because that's such a fundamental thing, is that kind of, it's so destructive, that first attack, and for the tension to run through the film, there should be, I think, a real legitimate, there's all kinds of threat. There's the threat of the kind of people being outed, of your identity sort of being kind of, discovered and shown. But there is also a kind of pure physical violent threat throughout the film, and what kind of gets the film going. So it was a sort of concern to be able to do that. But I guess with all things, like any character, you just sort of dive in, and the material sort of also, it sets it all up for you. So it was just about leaning into that as much as possible and kind of going with the scene.
And you talked about drag. In the case of your character, the drag is manifested through the tattoos. Tell us about having those tattoos applied, because they are such a big part of the character.
Yeah, so Marie Dean, our hair and makeup as designer, was just amazing, and we had a lot of conversations about the tattoos, because, as you say, they are Preston's kind of masculine drag. We kind of thought of him as a drag king as opposed to Jules as a drag queen, and the tattoos were. They were sort of a mixture. There was always specified that he needed one on his neck to sort of make him identifiable, and I thought that it would be just a sort of small something underneath his ear. Yeah. And then Marie sort of presented this collar to begin with, and it really kind of blew open the whole character, basically, and the possibility of how far we could take it. And so we began with that, and once we sort of decided, that big statement feels right, it kind of meant that we just had more than we first intended, and then it became about kind of giving each one a meaning, like a sort of hidden meaning for myself, to kind of speak certain things about the character and feel certain things about the character. There's lots of sort of hidden, more kind of feminine things within the sleeve on his arm. And then there's also just a kind of bit more surface level kind of bad choices that kind of that take him through the sort of, I think Preston is someone who is hypersensitive of how he looks and being current, and a sort of you know, he is into fashion. There's that kind of thing that you find out about him later on as well. And so I think he's gone through phases. So we wanted to reflect that in the nature of the tattoos, that, you know, when lions were cool, he got a lion, and when warriors were cool, he got a warrior. And so try to kind of give him a bit of backstory in the art that was on his body.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.